welcome back to my channel. My name is Lauren, and today I'm going to be talking to you about 10 things that I have learned so far on my no-buy slash low-buy journey. So if you've not been following, I have been doing a no-buy January this year. If you're interested in the specifics of that, as far as kind of what my boundaries are, the rules I've set for myself, I did upload a video a couple weeks ago explaining all of that you can go check out. And then I plan on doing a low buy for the rest of 2026, which of course will have slightly different rules and boundaries as opposed to my no buy. Essentially, I'm just setting a very low amount that I can spend each month on non-essentials. So things like clothes, makeup, fragrances, and in the fragrance category, since obviously this is a fragrance channel, that's one of the biggest areas that has been an issue as far as overspending for me. I have set even more specific rules for that. Things like not wanting redundancy in my collection, so not purchasing scents that are super similar to ones I already have. I'm not going to be buying any more moisturizers of any kind, whether it's a lotion, a body butter, a body cream, just because I already have so much and it takes me a little bit longer, it seems like, to use those up as opposed to some of my other products. So those are just some examples, but I do have some rules that are very specific to the fragrance and body care category. So obviously I'm not that far in to this journey, but as far as my 1 month no buy, it is, I think, the 19th today. I might be uploading this on the 20th. We'll see. I'm not sure yet. But we're over halfway through the month, right? We're over halfway through the no buy. And so far I've been very successful. So I just wanted to get on and share some of the things that I've been doing, some of the things I feel like are working for me. So first of all, I do want to put out there, I am not an expert on any of this. I am simply sharing my own experiences, what I'm learning, again, what I'm doing, what's working for me. It does not necessarily mean that it will work perfectly for you. And that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about towards the end of the video, is kind of making this your own, figuring out how it's going to work for you. Sorry, that was my dryer in the background. So again, these are just like 10, I don't know if you want to call it 10 rules, but just like 10 things that can help you be more successful if you're doing a no buy or even a low buy. So, some of these things you may already be doing or be aware of. Some of them you may not, or sometimes we just need reminders. I know sometimes I'll be watching a video and I'm like, yeah, I kind of forgot about that, or I did do that before, I need to start doing that again, that kind of thing. So hopefully you can find at least something out of this video that is helpful for you. So let's go ahead and start out with number one. Number one is accountability. And I have this in big, huge letters on my list here, because to me, this is one of the most important pieces, at least for me, for being successful in this, or really, I think that's with any kind of goal. So there will be things in this video I think that you can apply, even though I am focusing mainly on cutting down on spending in a lot of different areas, but like especially fragrance and body care, because that's one of my areas of biggest challenge. But there's things on here I think you can use or apply to other goals you might have for yourself as well. Accountability being one of them. So basically just having someone or a group of people that you can be accountable to along the way to help you meet your goal. For me, that's my YouTube channel mainly. So I feel like, at least for me, when I'm putting something out there and telling people what my goals are, what my rules are for myself, and I'm doing regular check-ins, I feel more accountable, right? Because I almost like feel guilty if I'm not doing what I say I'm doing. It's my cat. Cats make cameos pretty regularly on this channel, as well as my 2-year-old and occasionally my 2 older ones. But anyway, so if you don't have a YouTube channel or a social media, or you're just not comfortable sharing your journey publicly, maybe find an accountability partner, someone you know and can trust. It'd be great if they have the same goal as you. So if you're both trying to lose weight, you're both trying to walk every day, you're both trying to save money, and you can do regular check-ins with each other, that's great. Or even just close family or friends, someone that you, again, know well, can trust. You know that they have your best interest at heart. They're not going to enable you or tell you things they shouldn't be telling you, that are going to hinder your goals, but have some kind of accountability in place. I think that's really, really important. Number 2 is setting those specific rules and boundaries for yourself. But again, it has to be what you feel like is realistic, is going to work for you. For me personally, I decided on the no buy in January because I just really felt like I needed a hard reset, like just cold turkey, at least 1 month. Since I had a very spendy year in 2025, especially, when you get around the holidays. And honestly, I was almost at a point where I was feeling burnt out with shopping and with all the new body care and fragrances. So far that's worked out really well for me. And then, just doing kind of, like I said, a low buy for the rest of 2026, because for me personally, I did not feel like it was realistic for me to just never buy any non-essentials for the rest of 2026, right? Some people do that, and that's what they need to do, and that's what works for them. For me, this is what I think we'll see. This is what I think will work best for me, setting a very small amount. And again, if you're interested in seeing like my more specific rules and boundaries, you can go check out that other video. I won't go too much into it here, but I think it is important to have specific rules. Are there certain things that you're not going to allow yourself to buy at all, no matter what? Are there certain, if there's a certain category, like I said, for me, fragrance and body care, that you're especially struggling with, it might help to set some rules that apply specifically to that category. Are there going to be any exceptions? Okay, so like for me, if I get a gift card somewhere, or I have, say, Bath and Body Works rewards, I will allow myself to spend those things, but none of like my own money, right, so to speak. So just think things out. Think about potential scenarios that may pop up along the way. Also allowing for, are you going to have to buy birthday gifts? Are you going to have any events coming up where you're going to have to spend some money, and just kind of plan for that. But I think having those boundaries, instead of just going into it thinking, well, I'm just not going to spend as much, right? This gives you something to come back to, preferably something in writing, that you can kind of remind yourself like, oh yeah, like this is what I'm said I was going to do or not do. So having specific rules and guidelines for yourself. And again, it really is on an individual basis. What works for one person may not work for you. Number 3 is one that I've heard a lot. So I don't think this is anything new, but if you haven't thought about it, or maybe you did it at one point and now it's kind of gotten back to square one, unsubscribe, unfollow, delete. Okay. So unsubscribing to marketing emails, I don't know about you, but there's some that I have signed up for intentionally to get like a deal or something, right? And of course now I'm regretting it. There's a lot of ones that you're like, I have no idea how I got on this list, right? And I like dread sometimes if I go a few days or a week or whatever it is without checking my email, because I know when I get back in there, it is going to be just completely bogged down with junk mail. So you have to set aside some time to sit down. It can be a little tedious. Go through anything that is a marketing email, especially the ones that you feel like are going to trigger you to spend the most, and unsubscribe. Somewhere in that email, either at the top or at the bottom, it's going to be pretty tiny probably, but there will be an option to unsubscribe. Now, the other thing to be aware of is sometimes it will take a couple days, a week, maybe longer. It might depend on the company for that to actually go through. So in the meantime, you might still, even after you do that, you might still be getting some emails. Now, if you're still getting them like weeks to a month later, you might want to go back in and do it again, or contact the company directly. But that's one thing that I had to do. And I still have some that come through, and then I just repeat the process and unsubscribe as they come in. Unfollowing. So if you have social media influencers, people you subscribe to on YouTube, even me, or anyone else that you feel like is going to trigger you to spend, unfollow. And it doesn't have to be forever. Maybe it's just while you're kind of doing your reset and getting yourself back to a good place. And then also deleting any apps off of your phone, or at least turning off maybe the notifications. I find it helpful to just delete them completely, because otherwise sometimes I'm tempted to click on and be like, oh, what deals we got going on? What new products do we have, right? I was literally at a point towards the end of this last year where I was checking like the Bath and Body Works app every day, or every other, I would say at the very least. Now, part of that was for my channel, because this is a fragrance channel. I like to update my viewers, but a lot of it was for me as well. And that was definitely triggering me to spend money. So if you can just get rid of all of that temptation, you can always go. If you need something, which is honestly going to be rare probably, from places like Bath and Body Works or Sephora or right, whatever it is. If you really need something, you can go to the website and look for that when you need it, right? Rather than being inundated with notifications and being tempted to scroll through the app, right? So in my opinion, at least temporarily, if not indefinitely. If you're really serious about doing a no buy or low buy, it's best to just unsubscribe, unfollow, delete as much as you possibly can. As far as that too, and this is something that I meant to add to my list that I just remembered, it kind of goes along with that because it has to do with the content that you're watching. So replacing content that maybe is all about material things, about shopping, about new fragrances and and the deals that are going on right at your favorite stores, try to replace as much of that as you can with positive self-improvement type content. So for example, for me, I've gotten really into watching channels and content that have to do with like minimalism. Now, am I striving to really be a true minimalist? No, but I like the ideas behind it, and it kind of gets me thinking in the right direction, right? So minimalism, other people doing no buys and low buys, other people doing Shop My Stash and Project Pan, where they're really focusing on enjoying the things that are already in their collection. Now, if you think that's going to trigger you to want to go out and buy any of the things that you're seeing in their collection, that obviously might be a bad idea. But you get the gist. Like basically anything that is going to motivate you or inspire you to keep going when you see other people doing it and enjoying it and doing it well and being successful, I think that can really, really help you. Plus, you're just like replacing that time and that space in your brain with those more positive things as opposed to the content that's triggering you to spend. So that's another thing that I wanted to add on that I have been trying to do. And I do find that because I'm doing that, I'm spending less time constantly watching fragrance videos and things on YouTube as far as like hauls and reviews and things like that. So that's that. Number 4 is to physically stay out of stores as much as you possibly can. Again, this doesn't have to be forever. At least for me, that's what I've been trying to do for the entire month of January. And I've been pretty successful at it. I will say there was 1 or 2 times I went to Bath & Body Works, once to spend my 2 rewards, and I was good. I was tempted to buy more than, what I had for my rewards, but I didn't. The other time I went in, I think just to film and like review some things for people. And it was easier than I thought. But I think part of the reason was that time that I went in, they didn't have the everyday luxuries out yet. They didn't have anything that I just happened to like really, really want, right? So this is something, again, where you have to just know yourself. Do you feel like this is going to trigger you or not? Do you feel like you are at a place on your journey where you can handle this without overspending or not? For me, again, I felt that at the very least, I needed a complete month to just stay away from it for the most part. Because a lot of times, we may even tell ourselves, it's fine, I just want to go in and look around because it is nice. Get out, go get a coffee, walk around, especially if you're a mom, you want some quiet time. It's kind of the same reason that I don't mind going out and grocery shopping, right? So that is nice. And we can sometimes tell ourselves, I don't need to spend any money. I'm not going to buy anything. I'm just going to look, right? But then we see something that's really, really cute that we absolutely feel, we just absolutely need, right? We start talking ourselves into getting it, or we see a really good deal that we can't pass up, right? So again, it's being aware of where you're at in your journey. Is that going to trigger you or not? For me, more often than not, I feel like it will trigger me. And so I'm trying to really stay away from stores as much as possible and just find other things to do to occupy my time. Number 5 is to allow yourself a treat. Again, whatever works for you. For me, I am starting my low buy in February. So my rule is I'm only giving myself $20 a month to spend on non-essentials, whether that's clothing, fragrance, accessories, books, whatever it is, right? So it's not a lot of money to begin with. I'm hoping that will help me be also a little more selective about the things that I do spend my money on, but it's also allowing myself something small each month because I feel like that's just more realistic for me. I think it'll keep me from like going on a shopping binge, right? And just going crazy because I've been depriving myself for so long. I'm also allowing myself, once my low buy starts, 1 coffee out a month and 1 meal out a month by myself. I'm not including family dinners, things like that, right? So those are things you want to put in your rules and your boundaries for yourself, however you want to do it. But in my opinion, doing something like that, or maybe you tell yourself that on the last day of every month, and this is where it's on the honor system. You got to keep yourself in check, right? You're your own boss with this. But maybe you tell yourself last day of every month, if you've been successful and followed all the rules for the whole month, then you take yourself out for coffee, or you let yourself purchase something that's $20 or less, right? Those are just examples, but I think this keeps us going. And I think for me also, going through my no buy January has been a lot easier knowing that I have my low buy coming, right? So I know in February, if I find something that I just really, really want, if it's $20 or under, I can get it. And that's something that just helps me keep going. And I'm still cutting way down on my spending and saving way more money compared to what I was spending before, right? So again, that's number 5, just to consider, okay? Number 6, something I probably should have moved up a little further in the list, like when I was talking about setting specific rules for yourself, is having a goal, or, what do you want to do with this money you're spending? Do you want to save it? Do you want to put it toward a vacation? Do you have house projects that you're working on? Do you want to pay down debt? Have 1 or 2 like specific things in mind that you are going for that is going to keep you going when you feel tempted, right? And maybe you need a visual, make a vision board, or even just write down what these goals are so you can think about it or visualize, keep your eyes on the prize, so to speak, right? Number 7, learning to enjoy what you have. So whether that's your fragrance and body care collection, that's the big thing for me right now. Whether it's enjoying your clothes, your shoes, your accessories that you already have, the books you already have that you probably haven't read yet, right? That have been sitting on the shelf forever. I have quite a few of those. And this may sound funny, but at least in my fragrance and body care collection, something that I've been kind of thinking of it as is I'm going back through and kind of being like the fragrance judge of my own collection, okay, if that makes any sense. So I'm going through my whole collection and making sure that I am rotating through, wearing all of my perfumes, using as much of my body care and body mist as I can. And as I'm going through, I'm kind of comparing them to each other, especially if there are certain scents that are similar. Okay, so for example, I had Viva Vanilla from Bath & Body Works, but then I also got the new Bare Vanilla Intense from Victoria's Secret. I found that to my nose, those smelled very, very similar. So I'm like, do I really need both of these? Probably not, because chances are I'm just going to wear one more than the other anyway, right? So I kind of started, or what I'm going to start doing is wearing each of those. Maybe I take the first week and I wear one of those, and then the next week after that I wear the next one, or I rotate days, whatever it is. And I pay special attention to not just the fragrance, like how it smells, but the strength, the projection, the longevity, right? And then at the end of that time period, try to make a decision. Which one of these do I like the most, that I see myself wearing the most? Which one can I probably let go? Because that is part of this as well for me, is continuing to declutter and get my collection down to just the things that I absolutely love the most. And I'm finding as I'm using things that I haven't used in a while, you can even look for new layering combinations. I'm really enjoying them and appreciating them more than I used to, especially when I'm not constantly bringing in new stuff that's distracting me from that, right? So when you don't have all of that coming in constantly, you can just focus on what you have. Maybe notice things about certain fragrances that you never noticed before. And again, kind of treat it like a little contest, right? Like you're comparing different ones, especially ones that are similar, deciding which ones you want to keep, what you want to declutter, that kind of a thing. Number 8 is consider swapping. Now, I'm just suggesting this for people who may have other friends or family members who are, for example, really into books or really into fragrance and body care. Are there things that you guys could borrow from each other or swap so that you're still getting to try new things without going out and buying them, if that makes sense? I meant to go and look on social media actually, because I've heard there are groups like this that exist where like either locally or whatever, you can swap different things. Or if there's not something like that, maybe put some feelers out on your social media and see if there's anyone else that would be interested. I've thought about doing this. I don't know how many other people, I live in a small town, so I don't know how many other people, I would get who would be interested, but that's just a suggestion too that I've heard of people doing for other things. So why not start a book swapping club? Obviously, if you have a library close by, you can do that for books. But like fragrance and body care, I feel like you can do that for too. So that's just another way that you could kind of satisfy that need to try new things without having to actually pay for it. Number 9, don't make it harder than it needs to be. And I kind of touched on this in a previous video where I was talking about like the dark side. of like no buys and low buys and project use it up and all that kind of stuff. I think sometimes we see these trends on social media and we see how other people are doing it, and then we feel like we need to do it that way. Like, so for example, if you're doing a project, use it up, that's great. You know, do you really need to mark bottles? Do you really need to weigh items? I mean, content creators, I think a lot of times do this just for the purpose of content, to give their followers an update and give them a visual, which is fine. Just sometimes we bog ourselves down with those kinds of things, and we think because we started out doing them, we need to continue doing them even after they become kind of a pain in the butt to keep up with, right? So to me, the most important thing is that you are making a positive change in your life. You're headed in the right direction. You're cutting down on your spending if it's an issue for you, and you're really just learning to appreciate what you already have and using that up as much as possible before you go out and buy things you don't need, right? Like, that's what's important. I would say also, you know, again, just realizing as a whole, and this kind of ties into number 10, is remember it's all about what works for you. I can't say that enough, because I think a lot of people fail at these types of things because they look at what everyone else is doing, whether it's on social media, YouTube, friends, family, and they assume that it's going to work for them. Everyone is different, and everyone is at a different place as well. Like, some people have a shopping addiction that is much more severe than their neighbor or their friend, right? And that person underneath them might definitely have a problem, but it's not as severe. So it depends where you're at in your journey. It depends what your current spending habits are, or whatever else the issue is that you're trying to fix. Be realistic about what you really think is going to work for you, and don't feel like you have to go completely cold turkey for this long period of time. Maybe do a 1-month trial period, you know, and see how it goes, and then update at the end of that month. Based on how that first month went, for example. I think that's always a good idea. But yeah, don't make it hard on yourself. The other thing, again, kind of going back to number 9 with the don't make it harder than it needs to be. Another thing I mentioned in that previous video with the dark side of all of this is don't stress yourself out. Like, if you have accumulated, for example, a really large fragrance or body care collection and you're feeling overwhelmed, because you have way too much, you're not able to use it all, it's cluttering your space, right? Do not stress. I mean, honestly, the damage has already been done, right? Because you've overconsumed. You already have all this stuff. Don't stress yourself out with feeling like you have to use up a certain amount within a certain amount of time, okay? I see a lot of people doing this on YouTube, right? If there's sense in there that you know you're probably not going to get to, I mean, obviously I would recommend, if you have things you know are going to go bad quicker, maybe try to get to those first. But again, if there's things in there that you don't even like anymore, why force yourself to use them? Okay. So obviously, if there's barely any left and it's going to go bad soon anyway, toss it, right? Just toss it. However, I understand not wanting to waste. I am someone who hates wasting things also, whether it's food, body care, whatever it is. Number 1, are there friends and family who would take it? Ask around. Number 2, if it's in good condition, preferably unused, unopened, get a hold of one of your local shelters. I have a women's domestic violence shelter here locally that I gave a bunch of stuff to right before Christmas, which made me feel really good to, maybe be able to brighten their day, but also helps me out because I'm getting rid of some things that I'm not using. I know that it makes me feel better that I'm not wasting it. I'm not just throwing it away, and also helps me kind of, clear out that clutter and not feel pressured to use it all. The other thing would be, especially if you're really trying to get some money back that you've overspent, try setting up an account. And I'm pretty sure it's free to set up an account. I've been selling on Mercari for quite a while. I've had great luck there. What's nice is that's the thing. You don't want to be tempted to spend all the money you're making back on things on Mercari, because it is an option. You can directly transfer money to your bank account, which is what I've been doing for quite some time now. That helps you. And again, it can be gently used. It can be unopened. There's all kinds of things there, but you can make some money back, and it's fairly easy to do. So there's Mercari, obviously there's eBay, there's Poshmark, all kinds of different sites. But again, that'll help you clear it out, but also make some money back, right? So again, these are all just things that I feel like are helping me so far. I do plan to definitely come back and do more videos like this and kind of add on to the list as I go through my low buy year. If you have any other tips or tricks for things that are helping you, if you're doing a no buy or low buy, please add those down in the comments. I would love to hear them. Once again, not an expert, just sharing my personal experiences, and it does not mean that all of these are going to work perfectly for everyone, which is why I always emphasize that number 10, to just remember to do what works for you. And to kind of go along with that, don't be afraid to change course. If you're finding that the rules or restrictions that you set for yourself are not realistic, or they're causing more harm than good for whatever reason, change it up. Change it up. I mean, you are the one that's doing this. If you have an accountability partner or a YouTube channel like me, update your audience. Say, hey, I found that XYZ was not working. Now I'm going this route. And the important thing is, same thing with if you make a mistake. If you slip up and spend money that you shouldn't have spent, forgive yourself, promise yourself not to do it again, and just keep moving forward. I think a lot of people give up because they're like, oh, well, clearly I can't do this, right? I messed up. I'm just going to keep messing up, so I'm going to just not do it. Okay? Remember that it's just like any other addiction, any other issue that anyone has. It's not always going to be easy right away, right? Like, you're going to have struggles, you're going to have temptations, you might have times you slip up or make a mistake. Just pick back up and keep going. And if adjust your rules, adjust your expectations for yourself if you need to, but just keep going in the right direction. And I do think with a lot of these things too, the longer you do it, the easier it gets. So like the longer that I go without checking like Bath and Body Works app or the Victoria's Secret website, the easier it gets. I notice more days that go on where I don't do a lot of these things, or like going in stores constantly, because I used to do that all the time just to look around, and then of course end up spending money I don't need to spend. But the longer I go without doing these things, these kind of bad habits, the easier it gets for me. So I'm not saying it's going to be easy right away, but it gets easier. So just keep that in mind also. It won't be hard forever. Just stick to your guns, and then I promise you're going to be happy that you did. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found something helpful. Again, please add any other suggestions that you have in the comments. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.